Hey guys, how are you? So today's book is Quadrivium. It's basically, it talks about the four classical liberal arts of number, geometry, music, and cosmology. Like how everything in the universe is connected by numbers, geometry, and music. It also is, this book is also part of a series. Another books are Trivium, Geomancy, Alchemy, and Scientia. And this book basically is part of a other part of the books. It's a series. So, but this book talks about the liberal arts, and this book is really beautifully is crafted, and it talks about the exploration of the ancient liberal arts and how they were once formed, how people who followed this liberal arts, how they used that knowledge for their daily life, daily purposes. And like the book sort of combines timeless knowledge uh, with stunning visuals. It has a lot of sketches inside. I will just show you in a minute. And how geometry, music, cosmology were not merely as an academic subject. It was like a way of living for these the people who believed in these philosophies, and who followed these ideologies. And they also believed that these were as a window into the profound structure of harmony with life and with the universe. So let me just start. So it starts with, shows this illustration, all the four liberal arts, which are let me show it to you. It's the four subjects concerned with number, with comprise with the quadrivium: arithmetic, geometry, music, astronomy. Okay, so for its first chapters are going to talk about the maths, how it's all connected. And this book is filled with really beautiful art, illustrations. So the first chapter starts with the monad. Monad is basically means oneness, unity. So if you were to take as the oneness of God, monad is God, the number one. The basically, which cannot become two. It says that unity, the one God, the great spirit, mirror of wonders, the still eternity, permanence. There are countless names for it. According to one perspective, one cannot actually speak of the one, because to speak of it is to make an object of it. So you are giving it a physical body if you name it, if you make a picture of it, because the oneness shouldn't be bound into sculptures or words and like ideas, because it's boundless. And it says like the one is the limit of all, first before the beginning and last after the end, alpha and omega, the mold that shapes all things, and the one thing shaped by all molds, the origin from which the universe emerges, the universe itself, and the center of which it returns. It is point, seed, and destination all at once. One is echoed in all things and treats all equally. Its stability among numbers is unique, one remaining one when multiplied or divided by itself, and one of anything is uniquely that one thing. All things are immersed in the shoreless ocean of unity. So basically it talks about that the one is simultaneously circle, center, and the pure stone. So it's basically oneness, okay? It cannot be put into something, it cannot be explained, and it can only be felt through different signs, which I believe what God is, okay? And it also gives like an illustration of what monad should be, like a single point, So the first chapter is monad, oneness, and then comes duality, and then a yin and a yang. There are two sides of every coin, and the other side is where the dyad lives. Two is the otherworldly shadow, opposite, polarized, and objectified. It is there. Other, that, not this, and essential as a basis for comparison Yes, so basically it's the duality that comes in the Quadrivium philosophy. Then comes 3 is a crowd. Look at the illustration. How beautiful it is. You know, like you've seen these symbols in all. I've seen these symbols in, you know, the occult sciences, how they drain certain energies from planets such as Saturn, you know, then, you know, how it's evolving. And it's funny, like, you can see these signs in literally everything, you know, like cell becomes 2, 3, and 4, and it keeps on creating, you know, and comes 5. Now the elements are becoming, you know, the Vitruvian Man. So what it says that, like, what I've understood, that the section, the part of where it mentions geometry and maths, it is a number of frames in mathematics as more than mere computation. And what I've understood, it is a language of the universe. The author of this book, it sort of emphasizes that numbers are symbolic representation of cosmic principles. And, you know, like, then comes geometry, and this is said that this is the art of space, geometry. And geometry is presented as the visual manifestation of number. And the author of this book sort of delves into the profound connections between geometry and the natural world, how showing fundamental shapes, how they're connected to our lives, like circle, triangle, square, all those shapes, and when they merge together they become something else, but they do have a single identity also. And when they merge, they become like an amalgamation of certain things. They also keep their own identities, and they are repeated across nature and architecture. For instance, the golden ratio appears in everything from sunflower spirals to, you know, like literally everything if you look deep enough. I really like the time and space chapter, Cosmology and Manifest Number. It shows the orbit of Venus, how perfect it is when it revolves around the Earth. So it says that Venus draws a 5-fold pattern around Earth every 8 years, allowing us to draw an amazing diagram, which I just showed you. In those 8 years, there are almost exactly 99 full moons, 9 11s, the number of names of reflections of Allah in Islam. So, I mean, you can never say how authentic certain things are. You know, like it just mentioned that the 99 names of Allah, and how 9 is basically a lucky number in some cultures, and 9 is not a lucky number in other, you know, some cultures. So there's no way that you can authenticate certain things, that is this superstition or is it reality. What you can do is just, you know, like gain information and understand that there's more to this life that we just live, eat, and, you know, shed and sleep. There's more to it. It also talks about ancient Babylon, Sumeria, their tablets, their languages, how their language was connected to all the geometry of the Egypt. You know, it's all in the details. It talks about the language of Egypt, Sumerian tablets, and ancient Asia, the abacus, everything. It talks about how to decode alphabets into numbers, and then you can make magic squares. Yes, magic. Speaking of magic squares, you know, like it starts with a single square, then it evolves just like a cell, and, you know, and it's fascinating that if you look at my video, the previous video, Shams al-Marif, the oldest magic square that I have found right now is this one. It's made in Arabic. This one. It also shows how to decode it in numbers, and it is basically the magic square of Saturn. And it is also associated with the angel of death. And you know how games have geometry inside, chess, checkers. Then it talks about more about geometry, the Vitruvian Man by Leonardo da Vinci, how it is connected to the golden ratio, circling the square. It has a lot of beautiful architecture and detailed visualization. The rainbow, the architecture, the Moorish architecture, and the Gothic architecture, how they evolved over the years, you know, like the geometry of these architectures, the Vatican City, how the paintings of Leonardo da Vinci, he was a really brilliant artist. You know, he used maths and geometry in his art. See this? The architecture? The Gothic, the Islamic, every architecture, how it is all connected. Then it talks about the Platonic and Archimedean solids. You know, like, look at this. The Platonic solids, cube, pyramid, hexagon, and you know, like, and as you reach deep into this book, it becomes complex and complex, and at some point you feel like it's going all over your head, but you have to read it in depth. It talks about origami, how people, civilizations were inspired by geometry and how it evolved over these years, and how single shapes can become other shapes, you know, like a triangle can become a square also, given in a given circumstance, or you know, like just changing, tweaking it a little bit. It also talks about music. It also talks about how the universe started with an atom, went to galaxies, you know, like quarks. It talks about the grain of sand, how small they are, like how they're connected, and look at the illustrations. It talks about music, how music and the sound waves are connected to geometry, to our lives. Yeah. And with repetition, you can create purpose, I guess. It's all about discipline, I guess. Universe is disciplined enough to create. You know, how to tune, the tuning forks. It has instructions to build things, you know, like, see this? How it is connected to cosmos, and you know, like, you know, it talks about the Chladni plates, the black plates you put sand on, and every vibration, every sound wave creates a different pattern, you know. It's really marvelous and sort of scary that there's so much out there that we do not know, like every different pattern of every different node of a music. Music is the art medium that communicates interiority, being only perceived by the ears and received by the mind. A strict approach to understanding music will consequently always have something lacking as music theory. In essence, is primarily descriptive and not perspective. Yeah. So how music is connected to the architecture, it talks about that also. You know, music, a mother's lullaby, it gives sound to our feelings when we have no voice. Words when we are silent. Music is carried by the vibrations of molecules of air like waves upon an ocean. It perhaps uniquely captures and conveys the interior landscape of one human mind to another. Holding our tears and sweat, pain and pleasure, packaged as preludes and etudes and nocturnes, it is the texture of the time. When music is married to language, then what is spoken becomes song, elevating the intentions and entreating us to listen more deeply. making the profane sacred. Music soothes the soul and the savage beast. So that I also believe that music has power. It can also soothe you. It can also make you sad. You know, sometimes even me, I'm blameworthy of that. When you're feeling sad, you listen to sad music and you become more sad. You know, and music is alive. I believe. You know, you can change a human's philosophy or chemical imbalances. I mean, it's totally my opinion, but yeah, I do believe that. You know how all of these things are connected. Look how it shows basic rhythms and it breaks them down for you to understand, and then you can turn them into numbers, and you can turn them into you can break them down and understand them into numbers, geometry. You know, like see this. It teaches music also, the notes. It's all in here. So if you're into occult sciences, if you're into cosmology, you need to get this book. It talks about different instruments which should be used for specific things, and you know, like how basically everything is connected. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. Then it talks about the solar system, how it has music, the vibrations. You know, if you like, according to me, I believe that if you look at the universe and you take it to an atomic level, the smaller thing, if you go small and small and small and small, you minimize it so much, you will find music, you will find vibration. You will not find solid objects. You will not find visualization. You will find vibrations. That is basically that, according to me, like according to my knowledge. I can be wrong. If I'm wrong, please educate me in the comments. Please tell me. I want to know more. And that everything is vibration. Now the galaxies, dust, the galaxies and all that, the planets, how they're connected. It talks about these things, the calendars, alchemy. Come on. Now alchemy is here. You know, the secret of the sevens and the elements, copper, iron, mercury, how they're like associated with numbers and planets, and you know. Wow. Kelper's vision. I love these illustrations, like how much time it would have taken them to just, you know, the beauty, the perfect beauty of Venus, as I mentioned earlier. It talks about it again in the music chapter, that how its vibration and its geometrical structure is made surrounding Earth. It's perfect, like a flower, you know. And it talks about not just about our solar system. It talks about other solar bodies, and you know, it also talks about astral projection, the soul, and vibrations of the soul. And in the end, they give you like the music scales, they give you rhythms, the geometric structures. It also talks about Pythagoras theorems, like how the guy was talking about God and universe all the time, and when we learn it in school, it's boring, right? Yeah, so let me see where it was mentioned. So it's like, it was somewhere here. So it says that elements of the quadrivium were taught by Pythagoras as the tetractys around 500 BC in a community where all were equal, materially and morally, including women and men. 1,000 years later, both theists and the early European schools which followed began to hone education down to 7 essential subjects, the 7 liberal arts. The word education comes from the Latin educere, meaning to lead out, pointing to the central doctrine that Socrates, under Plato's pen, so clearly, knowledge is an inherent and an intrinsic part of our soul structure. The trivium of language is structured on the cardinal and objective values of truth, beauty, and goodness. Its 3 subjects are grammar, that ensures the good structure of language, logic for defining truth, and yeah, like the guy was talking about God, the universe, and cosmology. And yeah, that is pretty much it regarding this book. And yeah, it also shows what other books. As I mentioned earlier, it's part of a volume of other books. So yeah, Trivium, Quadrivium, Scientia, Designer, Technical Secrets of the Traditional Visual Arts. Yeah, I will be doing the other parts of this series, which I just mentioned, and let me know what other questions you have regarding the book. I can make a separate video on those questions if you would like, and if I was wrong in any of the knowledge, please educate me also in the comments, and I would read more about it and I would share more about it. And if there's any other book, do let me know also. And I guess this is it. See you next time.